The faint hum of cicadas blended with the metallic clinks inside Ryan Carter's small garage as the evening sun cast a golden glow across the cracked floor. Ryan stood bent over the hood of a faded blue sedan, his rough hands steady despite the exhaustion etched into his face, the smell of oil and gasoline clinging to his worn flannel shirt. Life hadn't been easy since his wife passed 2 years ago, leaving him to raise their daughter, Lily, alone while running the garage that barely kept the bills paid. Yet, every time his calloused fingers tightened a bolt or reached for a wrench, he carried in his chest the unshakable thought that he had to keep going, for her. Just as he was lost in the steady rhythm of his work, a high-pitched voice, full of life and innocence, pierced through the garage. "Dad!" Lily's small sneakers slapped against the concrete as she came rushing in, her dark curls bouncing with each hurried step, her little hands clutching a piece of paper folded too many times. Ryan lifted his head, his stern concentration melting into the soft smile that only his daughter could summon. "What's this, sweetheart?" he asked, setting aside the wrench and squatting down to her level. Breathless but beaming, Lily proudly unfolded the wrinkled page to reveal a crayon drawing of a tall man bent over a car, with a smiling little girl standing beside him holding a flower. At the top, in uneven, colorful letters, she had scribbled, "Me and Daddy." For a moment, Ryan felt his chest tighten, the world outside that sketch blurring as he realized that in Lily's eyes, he was more than a tired mechanic struggling to stay afloat, he was her hero, her constant, her everything. She giggled when he pulled her into his arms, pressing a kiss against her forehead and whispering, "It's perfect, Lily. Just like you." Her small arms wrapped tightly around his neck as if she could anchor him there forever, and for a fleeting second, Ryan forgot the weight of overdue bills, the ache of loneliness, and the uncertainty of tomorrow. All that mattered was the little girl in his arms and the reminder that, no matter how broken he sometimes felt, she saw him whole. What Ryan didn't know was that this simple moment, Lily rushing in with her drawing and her unshakable love, would be the spark that changed not only their lives, but someone else's as well, in ways he never could have imagined. The following morning, Ryan opened the garage earlier than usual, the crisp air carrying the faint scent of dew and gasoline as he unlocked the squeaky metal doors and rolled them up to let the first light in. Inside, Lily sat at the corner table with her crayon spread out like a rainbow, humming softly while sketching yet another version of her little world with Daddy in it. Ryan tried to push back the gnawing worry that had been eating at him for weeks. Customers had been fewer, rent was looming, and he wasn't sure how long he could keep the garage running. Just as he slid under the sedan to tighten a stubborn bolt, the sharp screech of tires outside made him flinch. He climbed out quickly, wiping his grease-stained hands on a rag, and blinked at the sight before him, a sleek black luxury car, polished to perfection, gliding to a stop in front of his shabby shop. Out stepped a woman dressed in tailored clothes that spoke of money and power, her heels clicking like an unfamiliar beat on the cracked concrete. She adjusted her sunglasses and surveyed the modest garage with faint skepticism before fixing her gaze on Ryan. "Are you Ryan Carter?" she asked in a crisp tone that didn't match the dusty surroundings. Ryan nodded slowly, wary of her presence, and muttered a polite, "Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you?" She gestured toward her car with a small flick of her hand. "It's making a strange noise. They told me you're the best mechanic around here, though." Her voice trailed off as her eyes flickered over his worn tools and faded overalls. Before Ryan could respond, Lily popped up from her little table, clutching a bright paper flower she had just folded. "Daddy, Daddy, look," she said, then noticed the stranger and, with childlike boldness, ran up to her. "Hi. I made this for you." The woman froze, visibly startled, as Lily held up the uneven paper flower with a gap-toothed smile. Something in her eyes shifted, the hard lines of her face softening as she bent slightly to take the fragile gift. For a moment, her voice wavered as she whispered, "Thank you." Ryan watched in silence, surprised by the tenderness flickering in her expression. In that instant, the garage no longer felt like a place of despair but one where something unexpected had been planted, a fragile beginning that none of them yet understood. Ryan spent the rest of the afternoon bent over the sleek black car, his hands working with steady precision while his mind remained unsettled by the unexpected visitor. Claire, that was the name she offered, hadn't left after handing over her keys. Instead, she lingered, standing near Lily's table, watching with quiet amusement as the little girl chattered away about her drawings, her favorite colors, and the silly way her daddy sometimes burned toast. Ryan, listening from under the hood, found himself both wary and oddly comforted by the sound of Claire's laughter breaking through the usual silence of the garage. When he finally straightened up, wiping the sweat and grease from his brow, he noticed the softness in her gaze as Lily proudly showed her a drawing of 3 figures holding hands beneath a big, uneven sun. "You're quite the artist," Claire said gently, and Lily grinned, replying, "That's me, Daddy, and you." Ryan felt a flicker of unease at the innocent declaration, but before he could intervene, Claire looked at him with something unspoken in her eyes, as though the child's imagination had touched a place in her heart she hadn't expected. By the time Ryan had tightened the last bolt and closed the hood, the car purred to life with a smoothness that made Claire smile in genuine relief. He expected her to leave immediately, yet she lingered, accepting a chipped mug of coffee he awkwardly offered, sipping it as though she belonged in that humble garage. Over the next few days, Claire returned, sometimes with questions about the car, other times with no reason at all, bringing small snacks for Lily or simply sitting beside her while she colored. Ryan, though cautious, couldn't deny the way his daughter's face lit up each time Claire appeared, or how the quiet evenings felt less heavy when her laughter joined theirs. Still, he couldn't shake the sense that behind Claire's polished smile lived a shadow of sadness she wasn't ready to reveal. He told himself not to get attached, not to let his heart wander where it didn't belong, but every time Lily tugged Claire's hand or called her Miss Claire with so much affection, Ryan wondered if perhaps their little world, once so lonely and fragile, was beginning to open to something more. It was late evening when Ryan finally pulled the garage door shut, the day's work leaving his shoulders heavy but his heart strangely lighter than usual. Claire had stopped by again, this time helping Lily gather her crayons into a little tin box while the girl giggled about how messy her table always got. Ryan leaned against the counter, watching the unlikely scene unfold. A woman who belonged in glittering high-rises and gala dinners crouched on the cracked concrete floor, smiling as though she had been part of this world all along. When Lily darted off to fetch another drawing, Ryan found himself alone with Claire, the quiet hum of the single overhead bulb filling the silence. "You've been here a lot lately," he said gently, half curious, half cautious. Claire's smile faltered, her fingers tightening around the tin box before she set it down and drew in a shaky breath. "Because being here, with her, it feels like I'm seeing my daughter again," she whispered, her voice cracking on the last word. Ryan stiffened, the weight of her confession sinking deep. She turned away slightly, blinking back tears that glistened in the dim light. "She was about Lily's age when I lost her. A car accident. One moment she was laughing in the back seat, the next, her voice broke, and she pressed a trembling hand to her lips. For the first time, Ryan understood the quiet grief that lingered in her eyes, the reason she clung so fiercely to Lily's laughter and innocent drawings. He didn't speak right away, simply stepped closer and laid a calloused hand gently over hers, his rough edges meeting her fragility in a silent acknowledgement of shared pain. She didn't pull away. Instead, her shoulders shook as she let out the sobs she had clearly held back for years. When Lily returned, proudly holding another picture, this one of 3 figures under a crooked rainbow. She didn't question Claire's red eyes or Ryan's steady hand on hers. She only beamed and said, "Look, Daddy. It's us." And as Ryan took the drawing, something shifted deep inside him, a quiet recognition that maybe fate had led Claire to their broken little garage for a reason. In that moment, he realized that while he had been fixing cars and patching up his own fractured heart, Lily had unknowingly fixed something even bigger, the spark of hope that second chances weren't just possible, they were already blooming right before his eyes.